Right, we're going to make a start. Hey everyone, my name's Cohen. I'm from DS Computing. And thanks to all our sponsors. Here's that title slide again. Obviously without all those folks, today wouldn't be possible. Is this it? Hands up who's been to last before, or the one last that's before. Cool, awesome. This is my first one. I wasn't able to make it last year, but I know Craig and Ed well from the meetup scene, and it's just awesome to see like a real grassroots conference come up. It's really exciting. So that's me. That's my Twitter handle if anyone wants to get in touch down the track. And today we're going to be talking about making a real difference, which is harnessing community innovation for social good. So I'm going to come to talk about Random Acts of Kindness, which is one of the initiatives underway in Australia. That's a way to do that. And my real objective today, one of the things I think about last conference is that it's a collection of the thought leaders from the industry. It's not some big sort of corporate conference that people just get wheeled into. It's everyone really wants to be here, and it's people that are really at the cutting edge and thinking about how we can do things better. So it's exciting to be talking to you about this. And my objective for today is to help you understand the benefits and the opportunities that exist in this space and how we can really make a difference through our skills. And a high-level agenda of what we're going to be doing, just aiming to talk about 20 minutes or so about innovation and hackathons, so to run you through how it works. Have a bit of an opportunity for some Q&A. And then I'm keen to capture your ideas and insights. So sort of at these three levels of you as an individual, how your organisation might be able to benefit or give to this movement, and also just to capture any random ideas that you might have either about problems or problem owners, but we'll run through all that as we go. Any questions, or does that sound okay? Cool. All right, so part of today is about joining the dots a bit. Did anyone go to Agile Australia this year or last year? A few people. So two of the, each year there's been keynote presentations. Last year from Roy Singham from ThoughtWorks, and this year from Ryan Martins from Rally Software. And both have this really strong theme about us as a technology community have a big responsibility to we can make a difference in terms of the social problems that are out there and the innovations that are needed. So around so many spaces like health and all those social problems. So today's a bit about joining the dots and saying something, well, this is something that's underway that we can all get involved in. And here's a shot of a bunch of hackers at it. We actually we meet for the Random Acts of Kindness hackathons at Swinburne. So we're going to talk about what motivates people to come together, give up their weekends and their weeknights and whatnot to contribute to this movement. So let's talk briefly about innovation. I see that as fundamentally as finding new ways to generate value, and it can span a continuum from technology innovation, things like cloud computing, continuous delivery, whatnot, through to process innovation, which I think is largely what today is about. Things like agile software delivery. Perhaps more recently, something like a lean startup is a real, what I consider a process innovation of how do we get new ideas to market. And there's opportunities all along that continuum. And one thing we know is that it's really hard. Everyone's talking about it, business journals are full of it. Everyone's desperately trying to find ways to get more innovative. But it's really hard to get everything in alignment, get the right people, the right resources, get all those teams working together to get ideas through the pipe and delivering value quickly. And for a lot of social organisations, it's just becoming prohibitively hard, and it's expensive, and to have those people and teams in place is very difficult. So there's no shortage of passion or ideas, but how do you get that out there and through the pipes and delivering value? So this is where hackathons come into it. They're a way of mobilising people that have the skills and the time to make available, and bring them together with the people that understand the problems and start working on them. Does anyone recognise this picture? That's right. So this is often touted as one of the first kind of hackathon or hack type moments, where people had to work fast and collaborate and bend the rules to solve a really important problem at the time. And I think you can see that picture before of the people focused on solving their problems in the hack weekend, and likewise in the faces of those people, the concentration and drive there. So these days, there's since about 2000, this modern concept of the hackathon has started to gather a lot more speed. Many of these logos look familiar. Startup Weekend is something that's been running for the last few years. We've got organisations like Census up there with their API. They're running events to try and encourage people to use their API. It's big in the startup space. It's often these kind of pitch competitions where you come together, form teams, often vying for angel funding or mentorship from experienced entrepreneurs. And then down the bottom there's some examples of what in the States they call it civic hacking. Is a term that's used often because it is things like GovHack, where there's this relationship with open government data. So GovHack's an example, Space Apps, which is run by NASA, and of course Random Hacks of Kindness, which we're going to be talking about. But I think there's an important difference with ROC from a number of the other hackathons that are going on. One is that there's barely any emphasis on the prizes, like whereas the Census one there is 10,000, or GovHack this year at least was it was much more of a focus on art and a big focus on the prizes and the glory that goes along with winning the event. ROC is much more about a sustained commitment to getting a problem solved, and we have prizes, but more just for fun and some encouragement. And as it turns out, no one is really that excited about claiming them or doing anything with them. They're often just reinvested into the project that people are working on. So it's a very different emphasis. Another massive difference with ROC, and I think one of the main keys to its success, is that it's really about bringing problem owners from the community together with the hackers. And that's really, to me, that's the essence of the organisation. So problem owners are passionate experts from the community. They're the people that understand their problem the best. So you could almost say it's synonymous with a product owner in a traditional agile environment, or a subject matter expert. We call them problem owners, but they're the people that have that vision. They're out there in their community doing whatever work they're doing. Often they're related to their job, and they've got an idea that they want to see solved, but for all the reasons you can imagine, it's hard to do that within the context of their organisation or their work. And so they bring that to the ROC community. And we'll talk a bit about that process. In terms of the way ROC's structured, we've got the global organisation, and the founding partners, which got together in 2009, include like NASA, Yahoo, Microsoft, HP, and some other big names like that. So they're based in the States, and they support ROCs that go on globally, so all through the world, Africa, Europe, obviously Australia. Then there's this regional partner, BIAS, who I work for, actually became the first regional partner in the world for Australia, or Australasia. So they provide that conduit, I guess, between the global level and the local level. So we have a steering committee that meets, and that's really gets into the nuts and bolts of the event organisation for the biannual hack event. And importantly, finding those problem owners, getting them prepared for the hack weekend, coaching them, making sure that their problem's well defined. And then at a local level, starting to pick up some momentum in Sydney. We've got someone up there getting a hack going, and looks like Brisbane and Bendigo also are going to start getting local events going, supported by the steering committee and the regional partner. This is the way it works throughout the year, and that we have it's a global hack weekend, and a lot of movements come together. There's Hack for Change in the States, and ROC kind of starts to fall under that banner. So the beginning of June and beginning of December, there's these two hack weekends. And something that we've introduced in Melbourne, which is starting to take off, is this concept of rock and roll. And it's important to acknowledge that there's only so much you can get done within a weekend. Like realistically, you get together at sort of 9 or 10 in the morning, no code's getting cut until close to midday. You go into the evening, and then it's wrapping up around the middle of the afternoon on Sunday. So it's pretty unlikely that you're going to get a production-ready application done just in that time. So we put in this concept of let's get back together every 6 weeks or so, treat the weekends as a real proof of concept, and then we come back together to get the problems over the line. We're also seeing problems come back at subsequent hack weekends. So a number of the examples I'll run you through later would have started in June last year and perhaps are still going. So it's that commitment to getting something over the line rather than just a PowerPoint presentation at the end of the weekend to see if you can get a prize. So one thing that I've come to really learn and appreciate through being involved in ROC is that I see them as a bit of a learning laboratory. And if you think of a traditional science laboratory as a safe place to carry out experiments, to try new things, likewise I see hackathons as an opportunity for that. You can bring whatever part of your skill set you want to it. Might not be exactly the same as what you do all day, every day, and a chance to experiment with that and to try something new. And likewise for the problem owners, it's a chance to bring their ideas to a group of professionals or people that really understand their craft very well, and see how they can, what can we learn from that. So a little bit more of going a bit more depth on that for hackers. It could be getting to know a whole new problem domain. It could be working with new languages or tools, or trying a different skill set if you're a BA and want to try some more user experience type thing, or design, or that type of thing. We see people trying different areas. For the problem owners, it's finding new ways of working, and I'm going to start talking a bit more about the opportunities for introducing Agile to these people, because for Agile practitioners, it's a real opportunity to practice your art. In the commercial world, you might start a project every maybe 6 months, maybe a bit less, often longer. So to go through that inception phase, it's few and far between that you get those opportunities. But on the hack weekend, you really got to hit the ground running, and it's a real opportunity to get people focusing on what's the value we're trying to create here, how we're going to break this up so we can get people working really fast. So I think it's a really fantastic opportunity for Agile practitioners to practice their art. Everyone familiar with Dan Pink? Anyone heard of him? So he's done a lot of writing around this idea of autonomy, mastery, and purpose as a way of, in the context of innovation, of how do you motivate teams, how do you get the best out of them. And I see, again, this hackathon environment being a real opportunity in terms of autonomy. There's no constraints of the big corporates or whatever, or even the commercial constraints necessarily. The volunteer teams there have autonomy about how they approach the problem. You can bring your mastery to it. You can how you want to approach it with your expertise, and of course purpose, working on social problems with access to the problem owner who understands it best. And that leads into this idea of flow. This is a picture you'll find on Wikipedia about this relationship between challenge level and skill level, and perhaps we've all found ourselves at various points in this quadrant, and then up the top there, when you've got the ultimate level of challenge and bringing your skill to it, you get into this flow state. This is a bit of a personal sort of anecdote of mine, having come from 10 years working as a sort of professional musician, writing original music. It's a picture of me in my flow state. But trying to find a way of replicating that after 10 years of working in a creative environment and collaborating very heavily, and then found myself working in an office and not able to recreate that feeling. And of course music is one thing and different, but getting into these environments where you're really aligned with people and working towards a common purpose, and with that time constraint on you as well, much more conducive to feeling that real motivation and flow. So what types of value do we create through these types of social innovation initiatives, and ROC more specifically? going to run you through some of the working solutions, because that's really the name of the game, is to get some working software out the door. This is an example which I was lucky to work on. It's called the Warrandyte Firewatch web dashboard, and the problem that was brought to us, Warrandyte is a suburb on the outskirts of Melbourne. It's very prone to bushfire risk. They've got just one small bridge going in and out of the community, so this massive single point of failure that these people need to be really prepared about making decisions when they're in fire danger. So this brings together a number of feeds, so rather than having to go to the CFA website, the Bureau of Meteorology and all these different pages to get the information, it brings it together in one spot. And also introduces a Twitter feed, which I personally think is probably one of the greatest potential for this to give value to that community. During the recent bushfire season, something we heard a lot about was people just the confusion around getting information in that moment of a natural disaster, and clearly the communities aren't leveraging their social networks very effectively. So, you know, through this page, hopefully they've got a hashtag 31135, which is their postcode and fire. And this web dashboard is a WordPress plugin which could be adapted for other communities. So that's an example. Another example, again, from that same problem owner, Jody from Warrandyte, is active fire plan generator. So to automatically help household develop a fire plan. They do a lot of work to try and encourage people to be prepared, and they do workshops and distribute information, but the reality is that just not enough people have a fire plan. So this is something a team's working on, to be able to assign tasks to members of a household, and then to have automated notifications as the fire danger rating changes, or there's certain, I guess, just maintenance tasks that you should do at certain intervals in the year to help prompt people to be proactive about responding to their fire plan. You'll notice a theme here, which I should have mentioned earlier, which is there's a lot about disaster resilience. And when ROC started in 2009, that was definitely the main theme of what ROC was setting out to achieve. These days, it's broadened out, not to just disasters, but there is that strong theme running through it. This problem won the award, whatever you'd call it, for last year, and it's a fireground information system. And Julian Smith, who's the problem owner for this, is actually he works for the government, the Department of Planning, something like that, but he's actually a volunteer firefighter, spends most of the summer out there actively fighting fires, sort of as one of these guys. And the problem that he brought to ROC was they're out there in fire trucks in extreme conditions, a lot of danger, and really all they've got to work with is paper maps, and literally drawing on the bonnets of their vehicles to work out the fire ground they're in and coordinate their efforts. So, what he was saying is, like, we're all carrying smartphones in our pockets. Surely there's a way that we can start to leverage this technology. So what the team's working on is a system where I can't rely on 3G networks or whatnot because of the conditions that they're working in. So they're putting servers in trucks and having a local network out there, and working out ways that they can map the fire ground and then bring that data back after the incident to help them understand and plan better for the future. So quite a bit of hardware involved in that, and obviously the software to drive it all. And it's interesting to watch them iterate over the subsequent ROC events and get the user experience right. He's out there showing this to his colleagues, the firefighters, bringing that feedback in, getting the team to iterate on it. Another application is called Resilience. So that's a mobile app for harnessing community goodwill after a natural disaster. So obviously after any disaster, there's a lot of cleanup work to be done. So this is for people to flag those non-life-threatening incidents. And the example often used, say there's a tree down across the road, we need someone to with a chainsaw to help, or preparing for a flood, we need people to help, create some sandbags or whatever. This is a way a community can put out that call for help and interact with each other, claim a problem, coordinate yourselves. So as I mentioned, there's some that they've all been disaster related, This one, which came up at the most recent Rock event in June, is called Open Food Web. And what that's about is crowdsourcing the movement of food from the farms to the consumer or to the distribution centres in the city. So it's a way of saying, well, we can pay a courier or a transport company $80 to move these 2 sacks of potatoes or whatever the case may be. But to give people that are doing that trip anyway, or perhaps going one way with an empty vehicle because they've got to pick up something from the city or vice versa, a way to see what things need to be moved and to offer a more competitive price to do that, but more in the spirit of community crowdsourcing the movement of food. And just a final example, this one's worked on by the team in Sydney, which is about a directory of non-government organisations for this Greater Mekong Delta region. Apparently there's no database maintained by the UN or any other organisations, so for them to organise their fundraising and coordinating their efforts, there was nothing there for them. So our problem owner brought that to the Sydney team, and they're developing this database so that you can search through it. So hopefully that gives you a bit of a flavour of the types of problems that are being worked on. They're very broad. Each of them has a problem owner that is deeply passionate about solving it and guides the team through that. So that, in terms of the value we create, we talked about the working solutions. Another aspect is the capacity building. So this is Jodie, the problem owner from the Warrandyte area, and when she started working with us, had very limited experience working with technology, had never really had to break down a problem or a project in that way. And over the past year, she's obviously getting much more comfortable with dealing with teams and prioritising her features, and just that experience we've all been through of trying to get someone to pare back a problem to the bare basics so we can get some value out the door. It's really building that capacity with all of the problem owners that we work with. I'm sure they're going to take with them back into their jobs, back into their communities for the future. In terms of our hackers, this is Manu. He's 17 years old. He just came along. He was very new to Australia, and it's just been amazing to watch him make such a significant contribution to the problems that he works on, and also grow his confidence and his networks in the technology community in Melbourne. So capacity building at that level as well. And this is a concept I'm quite interested in and passionate about, and it's this idea of shared value between businesses and society, and ties into this meeting here where I'd love to capture your insights about how your organisation can both give and receive from being involved in something like this. So this term shared value, Michael Porter's a famous economist type guy, and he sums it up as policies and operating practices that enhance the competitiveness of a company while simultaneously advancing the economic and social conditions in the communities which it operates. So it's not so much talking about like a social enterprise or business that is focused on social outcomes rather than profit. We're talking about profit-making organisations looking for ways that they can get involved in social initiatives that give them some kind of value back and also benefit society. So I see that play out frequently every day with DS, who are investing a lot of energy from various people in the organisation, plus cash to keep the thing going. But what we get back from it is, like for example, with that resilience application, it was a way for us to build up an Android capability. Like there was guys in the organisation that wanted to get involved in Android development, but in a fairly disjointed way. It was a way to bring those guys together, and now since then we're doing commercial Android projects. Likewise, even just like this opportunity right now for me to be speaking to you is a way that feeds back into for DS in terms of people being aware of that, in terms of keeping their employees motivated and engaged. And yeah, seeing lots of examples of that with the organisations getting involved as sponsors and whatnot. It's a two-way thing. So, how can you get involved? There's a variety of civic hacking initiatives. ThoughtWorks, for example, like whereas Rock is a number of problem owners and different problems being worked on by different teams, the approach that ThoughtWorks have taken is to focus on one system, which is OpenMRS, that's medical record system. It's used heavily in Africa, and there's teams all around the world working on that. And in Melbourne, from when we've got Eric here, and he'll be able to tell us more about it in a moment during the Q&A, hopefully. Yeah, they've bitten off one chunk of that, and they're focusing on that. Rally Software, very involved in the Hack the Change. Ryan, the CEO, spoke at Agile Australia about how passionate he is for that to become a much bigger thing in his organisation. Of course, Random Hacks of Kindness in Melbourne and other cities that you can get involved in. So you can get involved as a hacker. I really want to stress there's technical and non-technical roles in there. You know, the BAs, especially user experience designers bring a ton of value to the projects that they're involved in. And I would also call a hacker, like, for example, we spoke to a lawyer from REA. He's made his time available to give us some advice around some of the disclaimers and whatnot that might need to go along with some of these projects. So that's perhaps somewhere in between, you know, how an organisation is getting involved and giving back, and I see those people bringing those kind of skills to the projects as just another level of involvement as a hacker. You can help recruit and/or coach problem owners. As I stressed earlier, problem owners, you know, really are the lifeblood of Random Hacks of Kindness. So if you know anybody out there, and that's what I'm hoping, if anything's springing to mind, it'd be great if you could help us capture those. If you know of someone out there that's doing any kind of good work for the community and could benefit from having a team work on a technology problem. And also coaching them in the lead up to the event, even if you can't be involved in the hack weekends or afterwards, that helping them break down the problem and understand how to work well with the team is another opportunity. And finally, yeah, this is probably more as an organisation to sponsor in some way, whether it's making some cash available, or even like we have swag bags, you know, at the beginning of the event, and this year we were calling them random swags of kindness because we had such an array of things in there, like dishwashing liquid and whatnot, but it's actually useful. There's only so many Rubik's Cubes and, or maybe not, the beer can cooler things, you can use a lot of them, but anyway, yeah, it's great to see the organisations chipping in for that. More information, this is the global Rock site, and we've got a leaner one, but with probably more useful information at the rockmelbourne.org. Also have a meetup group, so you can go there for more information, or of course, you're welcome to contact me. And now I'd love it if we could yeah, do some interaction and start generating some insights. Perhaps before that, have a chance for some Q&A. But I've got some post-it notes down here, and it'd be great if, you know, get up and come down and start writing down anything that's come to mind. It's not a commitment in any way, but it'd just be great for me to know what's in your minds, and also to see what other people are thinking. So, any questions at this point?
Yeah, you get a couple of chunks of projects. So what are the properties of a good product owner? If I'm looking at my network, yeah, what would people who be good at this stuff or bad at this stuff, or what are good ideas, what are bad ideas? Can you give me some guidance on which direction to think a good product owner?
Sure. I think it's important that the problem itself can be framed in an achievable way. It can be a big problem, and you know, it can take a lot of steps to get there, but that you can get some quick wins within the weekend itself, even if that's just at a high level proof of concept, and then ideally to be able to chunk it down and you know, just in that sort of typical agile way. But yeah, I think that's a key thing for the teams to feel motivated and yeah, to keep that going. And then in terms of the problem owners, I think it's really important that there's a sustained interest and presence to keep the teams going. That's where we see it working really well, when the product owner stays engaged, is there to answer questions and keep the team motivated. That's the ones that are really successful. So yeah, that's what I'd say.
And they also need to be realistic, you know, to understand that in a weekend, you know, you're not going to get bells and whistles and something that looks like a corporate site. You know, that it's a long journey. And it's basically people, you know, who are enthusiastic, volunteering their time and effort, but they don't want to like sit there for 6 months doing something.
Yeah. Any other questions? Yeah.
So the hacking that takes place is generally on weekends. Are there companies that sort of unleash their employees to work on this, you know, as part of their work? Or is it always just individuals outside of work hours?
Yeah, Eric.
I know with OpenMRS, the OpenMRS involvement basically kicked off at the Agile conference 2 years ago, because Roy from Fraudworks basically stood up and said, "There's all these amazing projects happening around the world. Why aren't Australians doing more?" And I know with OpenMRS, a lot of large organisations like Telstra and various others, they'll have volunteer leave, and they will let people use their volunteer leave to do work on the open source project. So a lot of it's just about the senior organisation management knowing about it. And one thing that senior organisation management like about this is it's great to put on the annual reports, you know, and say our people are helping the community doing this stuff. So, you know, if they're reasonably enlightened and you can mention, hey, you know, we want to do some stuff, you can talk about it at the shareholder meeting, whatever, they'll be pretty enthusiastic about letting you put it on the company.
Yeah. It's I can say for sure it's on the ROC steering committee sort of to-do list to look into this more about like organisations' charity leave and how can we spread that message in the same way Eric was talking about. And from another perspective, I know with DS, in terms of when we've got consultants on the bench for short, you know, for periods of time, making them available to work on projects that they've been involved in. So that's kind of from another angle, but it's still during work hours working on those problems.
How often do you have these weekends, evenings of hacks?
So the main hack weekends are just twice a year. So the first weekend of June and first weekend of December, and that's, you know, from first thing Saturday morning right through till, you know, late Sunday afternoon. And then the rock and rolls, where there's no sort of hard and fast dates, but we're aiming for every 6 weeks, alternating between usually a Thursday night and a Saturday. And we're doing those at co-working spaces, so such as York Butter Factory on King Street, Electron Workshop in North Melbourne, had some at the DS office on Queen Street. They're just sort of moving around, but aiming for every 6 weeks, so roughly 3 or 4 between the biannual weekends.
How do you end up finding out about these? Is there a mailing list?
The meetup group.
Yeah.
So they all get publicised on that, and that works pretty well. And then people can RSVP, and we know how much pizza to buy and whatnot.
And hopefully in about 12 months there'll be a website where all this stuff gets listed. That's one of my short-term goals. There's a whole lot of things to look at. There's another thing called GovHack, which was held a couple of months ago, which was basically held around Australia. The idea was for a weekend you do some sort of visualisation of Australian government or state government data. And so that was like a competition that was held in the Age Building in Melbourne, and every capital city had its own little thing of several hundred people. And that was a pretty switch-on thing. And they actually had quite a lot of prizes. You know, they were giving out several $1,000s in prizes.
It was on the same weekend as the last remaining exercise.
Yes, a bad overlap. So yeah, a lot of it is just at the moment just sort of monitoring Twitter feeds or mailing groups. Start with random acts of kindness and then just ask around. OpenMRS is Tuesdays at ThoughtWorks in Melbourne. If you do a search for OpenMRS demo, you can actually see the whole software running as a demo site. Basically, the Melbourne project is to write a specialist part of the software that sits at the side of the main project. But the main project is being used in many countries around the world for open medical registry systems, and it's literally saved millions of people's lives around the world. Originally it was written to stop the spread of AIDS, and they stopped the AIDS mortality in Kenya from like 95% down to 5% in 12 months. And that was basically the fact that they had a medical registry system that they could put patients' names in, their addresses, the diagnosis and the treatment. And that was just a bunch of people volunteering, so it's pretty amazing, you know, the feeling you can get from working on some of these projects.
Are you looking more for ideas to work on, or are you more looking for people to participate? Or is it, if I kind of walk up the board, what do you want me to focus on?
Look, I think equally both. I'm really interested in the ideas to work on. I think that's, you know, there's people out there, and we can reach out to them. But having the right problems and the right problem owners, I think, is really critical to Rock's success. But yeah, likewise, I think thinking about what individuals can contribute to something like this beyond perhaps just the obvious, and also get back, and that will help us communicate those benefits to people. What types of things can you see getting that shared value at an individual level? Yeah, I think it'd be interesting to think about. Any other questions? No? Maybe we'll pass around some Post-its, or just come up, and you know, if you've got any ideas, it'd be great if you could capture them. Maybe we can pop it down in the open space later on, so we can keep an eye on it evolving throughout the conference. Cool. I might leave it at that, and then yeah, come up and contribute any ideas that you might have. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Cheers. Hasn't proven to be a problem. Okay. It's on the wrong side, so we can work with Yeah.
And then what we do with the website, we don't have data.
Yeah.
I had a bit
And
of
then you've
fun
got
with
other
it.
groups saying, what do you like? We haven't got anything.
Yeah.
And then, there's the hosting and everything, and then done through the council, like as a hoster. But then the council says, oh, well, it's going to be under ours.
Yeah, we do.
It's going to be Alba.
Yeah.
And I was just thinking, you know, as a dev, with the cloud and everything, it would be great if there was something where it was easy to have your website, if they create it, but B, anyone could maintain it, really different source code, you know. So there are people who, you know, one person, and other people who do it. Often what you're talking about,
Yeah, that's right. There's an organisation called Info Exchange.
Yes.
And they do, I'm not exactly sure what their model is, like for-profit business, but work in this space at reasonable rates and whatnot. So it will be an opportunity to sort of partner with them and get some opportunities. Yeah, just like even just a bit of a how-to guide on issues of appropriate provider and whatnot, because we're in technology every day, and every time one plays with that, it's still an overwhelming choice, you know. So yeah.
I'm all for it. You've got to keep it as simple as possible, and
maintenance.
And you've got to keep it as long term as possible as well. So, you know, like even things as simple as your email. I've had the same now, I've had it for 15 years. It's like it's all my stuff on it.
Yeah.
And now he's looking to close tomorrow, but all the people oh, and then I changed the phone company and then, I lost all my stuff because the computer got wet.
Yeah.
It's just like, you know, it's